The Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everybody, welcome to The Art and Industry of Business and Living. You are with Simone Milasas, your host, and I have Rebecca Hulse in here, who has been on here quite a few times. She's at her home in New Zealand at the moment in Christchurch. So welcome, Rebecca.
Hey, Simone. Hey, everyone. It's good to be back.
And we've got some interesting stuff to talk to you about today. I said to Rebecca, will you do a podcast with me? Because we work together on a lot of different things. And one of the things that, we've been functioning from lately is being irrational. So that's what we wanted to talk to you about today. And literally like some stuff that has been, shaken up and changed within Joy of Business, which is, started off me writing the book of Joy of Business and then, did classes on it. And then we have JCFs, Joy of Business facilitators all around the world. And we have all of these classes available and what was happening. So we have had, a team of people that we work with for quite some time. And I wrote in this we use Slack, and I wrote in the Slack thread about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. And I said, I'm bored. I said, something needs to change because this isn't working. I'm bored. And I was like, what do we need to do? What do we need to change? And I said, I'm willing to let go of all of it. Like, I really don't have a point of view of holding on to any business or any company anymore. I used to have that point of view years ago that because you started something, you had to hang on to it. And that's not my point of view anymore. So I sort of put it out there and started talking to everyone about Joy of Business and, what was going in, because we have JCFs around the world and it just sort of felt like it was the redheaded stepchild that was occurring. So, what was going on for you, Rebecca?
Well, it's interesting because, when you work with something for a long time, things can kind of feel a little bit more normal. And slowly, these different things have been started to happen with Joy of Business. But I wasn't really recognizing them in the moment. Like, it wasn't something that I was like, oh, this is happening. Like every time I would interact with some of our JCFs, I would, you would put on the happy face and you would do what you could to create what they required. But there was a small part of me inside that was just like, oh, I just don't want to do this.
No.
And I wasn't really recognizing it at all. And when Simone put in that Slack thread, she was like, I'm bored. And I was like, I really don't know what to do with that right now. Like, do we just quit everything? Do we change everything? Do we do something different? Like, what do I even do with, when the person you work with so closely that created this amazing energy of Joy of Business and got it out there in the world, and then she writes, I'm bored. And like, what do you do with that? Like, okay. And it took us a while. Like, it took us 3 weeks before we got to more where we are today. And I would say it hasn't been easy.
No.
For sure. And if you've seen Joy of Business, you'll know that you'd think, yeah, everything's easy and happy and they create all the time and everything's awesome. And we come up with the coolest things in the world and there's all these different things going on all the time. And it was, I would say, a good week or 10 days of just death and dying and not so much fun.
But I've got to say, it's sort of like the energy of indulging in that too, because it was like, all right, so if this didn't exist, what would occur? Because my main reason, my target, my desire was to get the access consciousness tools out there to every single business around the world. Imagine what it would be like if every business was functioning from question and, had no fixed point of view and was willing to change things. So that's literally Joy of Business. Like, I know in the front of our manuals, which we're just changing up at the moment, but in the front of our manuals, we used to talk about what is Joy Business? And people would misidentify it as, oh, it's always happy and everyone's always, laughing and everything shows up easy. And it's like, no, that's not Joy of Business. Joy of Business is the ability and the willingness to handle anything that comes across your path and knowing when you need to change something. Like me saying I'm bored, it's like not coming from this, right, I'm done, I quit, hands on hip, petulant sort of attitude. It's like, I'm bored. Can we change this or do we let it go? Like that sort of energy. And you need to look at this in business. So if you're in business right now or you've, just because you started it doesn't mean that you have to continue with it. But there is a difference. I really want to stipulate this. There's a difference when you quit with that energy of like, I'm done, and you quit and you walk away. And the difference is of the energy when you go, okay, something's got to change here. Something's got to move. And it's not about fixing it, okay? So don't get into the point of view that you have to fix something, because fixing is just, putting a Band-Aid over something and not really changing anything. What if you change the entire thing? So we started looking at it and asking questions and saying, okay, so if Joy of Business didn't exist and we started Joy of Business today, what would we choose? What would we change? And what would we create? What would it be like? So one of the questions you can ask is, what irrational choices can you make today that will continuously increase your business flows right away? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So clearing statement you can check out on theclearingstatement.com. And I'm going to run a few more processes in this podcast as well. But let's go back to what I was actually traveling overseas. Most of us were going to Europe. And I was traveling with Sarah, who works with Joy Business. So she was on the same flights as me. So every now and then we got to sort of have a chat. And she said, you know what? I got to say, I was getting bored too. She said, I realized we work on so many projects, and it was one of the last things I was attending to. It was sort of, the last of the pile, and then new pile comes along. So it's still on the last of the pile. And every time we stopped, because it takes a long time to get to Europe from Australia, she was like, but talking to you about this and about possible changes, she said, it's exciting me again. It's enthusing me again. And one of the things we looked at with Sarah is, she's working with access consciousness and working in another area, like she works with translation, and she loves it. So why would you not put the person who loves translation, working on translation with Joy Business, who's yelling out to be translated into all these different languages, but concentrate on it, put some more energy into the languages and into the Joy Business facilitators who want to be a part of that. Instead of she's setting up Zoom and doing admin, etc., which she's phenomenal at, but look at your staff and look at, what do they love doing and where is their greatest capacity and what can they contribute to the business with total ease? And that's the irrational way of being with business. If you're willing to have a look at the staff, shake it all up, and instead of what they've been doing, what could they be that would be a contribution to the business? So, I spoke to all the staff, and I've got to say, just came back from Tokyo, and one morning I was talking to Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, and I was sort of still having this like, Joy Business should, maybe it's over. I could spend my time would be better spent on other things. And I was having a moment of like, just quit sort of thing. And he said, do you realize that you're gathering evidence? And I went, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm gathering evidence. I'm gathering evidence so I can go to court and I can make my case of why this shouldn't be in existence sort of thing. Access tools, I went, you're right. And I went, okay, Gary, so if I wasn't gathering evidence, what would I do here? What could I do? Help me. And he said, run this. What energy, space, and consciousness can I be that will allow me to have total ease, total clarity and ease with all of this? And everything that is, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So I'll run it again. So you can do this with anything. What energy, space, and consciousness can I be that would allow me to have total clarity and ease with all of this? And everything that is, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And I started running that, and I ran that for 2 days, like any moment I could. You're in the shower, you're just waking up, and it's like you're in the bathroom putting on makeup. It's like, or you just get home, you're in a taxi. I started running it as much as I possibly could. And I also advise you can put it onto record the clearing statement and put it onto a loop so you can listen to it at night when you sleep. It will work. So, and actually, Rebecca, you don't know this, that was the morning 2 of the COP in Tokyo. And that morning I went, let's get Sarah and Rebecca and go out to lunch. And we went to this fabulous French restaurant, as one does in Japan. And we went to a French restaurant, beautiful wine, beautiful food. Oh my goodness, amazing. Mandarin Oriental in Tokyo, if you ever go there. The French restaurant, actually all their restaurants except for the Italian one are fabulous. But did you notice when we went to lunch, we didn't even specifically talk about anything business-wise. We just had fun.
I did notice that. And for half of the meal, I just kept waiting for, when are we going to get down to business? Like, when are we going to talk about? Because when you and I go to lunch, we have this like list of all the different things that we want to do and create. And I didn't quite know what to do for the first half of the lunch, because I was like, when are we going to talk about what we actually came here to talk about? And halfway through it, I realized, oh, we're actually here for something different today. We're not here for one of our normal working lunches. So why don't you just go with it? And I actually, I brought out my phone and I started talking about some of the other projects that I'm working on that are not to do with access or joy of business, and actually to do with something here in New Zealand, and getting excited about just business again, being the actual joy of business, which is what that lunch actually turned out to be, was getting back to us.
And it was interesting because I actually didn't have an agenda. And one of the things that we've been talking about with Irrational, and Gary Douglas is friggin' amazing with this, is it's not going to reason and justification. It's if you're being irrational. And let me talk a little bit about that with the irrational and the rational. Like, Gary has this amazing ability to go to this, I call it the yes-no universe, because you'll be like, okay, let's go to lunch. Yes. And I just woke up and I started running that process after talking to Gary. Let me run it again. What energy, space, and consciousness can you be that would allow you to have total clarity and ease with all of this? And I ran that. And then I spoke to David, who's our lawyer and, well, friend of ours, he was there too. And I said, hey, can you contact Sarah and Rebecca and let's take them to lunch? So that was it. It was just like, there was no rhyme, reason. It wasn't like, oh, we have to have a meeting. It's like, this is what it has to look like. It was just literally like this, yes, no universe. So that's what I started doing. It was just like this yes, no universe, which is totally the irrational point of view. So irrational is there's not a reason. It's just like this gift of possibility. So if you're functioning from that place of being irrational, then we go out to lunch. We literally just enjoyed each other. We enjoyed the food, the view. Have I mentioned the view from this restaurant is amazing, and the beautiful wine. And we enjoyed all of that, and we enjoyed each other, knowing that we all contribute to each other in so many different ways, but it didn't have to be about business. So how many times do you always have to make things about business when knowing that sometimes maybe it's just about the being that's sitting in front of you? But I honestly didn't have an agenda. And usually we would do that, go, okay, let's do lunch, and we've got these lists, of things that we have to go through and talk about, which is great. Rebecca and I were on the phone the other night for a couple of hours going through a list, which was awesome, and we created so much. But it's the willingness to be irrational at any moment. So irrational is also the places, it's like the elements of creation. It's following the energy. So it's not trying to work out what something is. It's not trying to justify something. It's not following the rules and the regulations. It's being different. It's the willingness to be different. Okay. It's coming from no conclusions and no decisions. It's functioning from question. And interesting enough, if you ask questions, question will always create more control. You will have way more information. I mean, as an example, if you're about to hire them, what would you like to be paid? Like, we just did this with a project that we're working on. And just before this podcast, I was looking at the Skype thread and I went, oh, that's brilliant. We asked this person what he would like to be paid, and what he sent back, we went, yep, that's doable. So you get the information and that person is happy and you are happy. Doesn't mean you have to say yes. It's like, but you have the information. You can either negotiate or say, oh, we can't quite do that at this time. We might be able to do that in a year or 6 months or 1 month or whatever it is. But it's the willingness to be in question will actually give you more control. And you no longer have to have a reason for anything. You literally follow the energy and that yes, no. Okay, should I go here? Yes, no. Because you do know. And that's one thing we always talk about in Access is you as an infinite being know. So everywhere that you go to, I don't know, instead of actually asking a question and be willing to acknowledge the capacity you have of knowing, will you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, let me flip side. The rational side is when people are being rational is you always got to find a reason for why you're choosing something. There must be a reason, and you've got to go to the how, not the, okay, let's change this. And it's like, all right, what is this going to look like? Like literally running that process to have total clarity and ease created total clarity and ease. And there's more to this story, but I just wanted to give you a little bit more information on the irrational and the rational. Rational is the place of where you're always constantly trying to prove something. It's, the going to the how. You've got to work out how to do something rather than just going, like running the process of total clarity and ease on something. And then you're always going to trying to define what you do and what you create. There's got to be a reason, a justification. It's very much functioning from this reality rather than realizing that you have a really different reality. So will you please acknowledge that you have a completely and utterly different reality? And when you're trying to rationalize something, you resist what you cannot rationalize. So say, for example, I put in this thread, our Slack thread that we use, I'm bored, right? So if any of the people I work with went into resistance with that, then they would start to rationalize what can occur and try and work out or prove something or work out the how and the reason and the justification for what we're choosing or what we're not choosing, rather than going to question, which I was explaining before with the irrational. Question creates more control. Question empowers you to have different possibilities show up. It's the gift of possibilities. So there's no reason, it's the gift of possibilities. So you resist what you cannot rationalize. Okay, so people think that all things are rational, and that is why they try and have reasons for everything. But that's not true. If you are actually willing to follow the energy, the yes-no universe that I was talking about, then things would be totally different. Different world. And this irrational stuff has been totally changing my life, because I realize all of the areas that I go to the how, or I go to, the reason or something. I mean, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, asked me a question the other day, and it was about the business. And he went, "What do you get?" And I went, "Well, I get a big resounding no for the future." And I said, "But I can't give you a reason." He went, "Not asking for a reason, just asking for your awareness." And I was like, brilliant. That's so much easier. So you can ask, what is your awareness about this, and choose based on that. And so, because how many of you have been looking at how wrong you are because you've been trying to work out why something didn't work, or, trying to prove something, or going to the reason and justification, or constantly proving. And it's not about that. It's, what if you could be irrational?
And it's so amazing how much we sneak in the rational, like even when you're like playing and using these tools. And so at this non-business lunch that we were having, I was telling Simone about a business that I want to be opening here in New Zealand. And I was saying, oh yeah, like I will be home more and I'll get to work with my mom. And she's like, no, that's the rational. The irrational is, I want to create this business. Great. Stop there and just go with it. Like, because our mind tries to go into and then. And that is when you get caught back up, and you like take your brilliance, take your genius idea that comes from this irrational place that's just the spark of energy. And then we use the rational event then, and because of this and this reason, and then it will do this, the rationalizing. And that takes it out of being this brilliant thing it can be, and makes it part of this reality. And it's way smaller than what it could be. And when you caught me in that moment, that made me realize how much we really do this, and how much freer you can be if you're willing to be something and you're like, I don't have a reason for you.
Yeah. And I give you guys some home play. I don't often give home play on the podcast, but if you are willing, this is what I'm going to do. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down, if you were truly ask yourself, if I was truly being irrational with business, what would I choose? Whoa, I like that energy. Everything that is, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And then write at least 10 things. If you can, write more, or write it every day for a week. Write 10 different things every day. So get your coffee, get your cup of tea. If I was truly willing to be irrational with business, what would I choose? And then what I want you to do is go through that list and look at them all and say, is this truly irrational, or is this about being rational about what irrational would be? Which is exactly what Rebecca was just talking about. So it is absolutely a mind twister. So if you want more information on this podcast too, don't forget to go, you can go and sign in. You can get the summary of this, because I'm sure some of this you might be hearing and going, what? Are they talking another language? So I will say it again though. So ask, if I was truly being irrational with business, what would I choose? And then go through the list and ask, is this truly irrational, or is this about being rational about what irrational would be. So let's move on to talking a little bit about what we chose with Joy Business and how that came about. Like, I came home from Tokyo, you came home from Tokyo, and it was funny. You Skyped me this energy of like, hey, when can you talk? I'm excited. I've got some ideas. The energy was palpable through the Skype thread of what I absolutely adore about Rebecca and her creative capacity. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm really desiring to hear what this is. It was the level of creation that I know that she can be and that we can be. So what happened for you?
We had this conversation and it was pretty depressing. I was like, fuck, I used to be so great at being a creative producer. I used to be, part of the generative creative energy that was making Joy of Business a leader in its field. And it was dying. And I was like, do I fire myself? Do we all go? Or is it just me, being the humanoid? Is it just me? Should I take myself away and then everything will be fine? And I was like, well, no, that's not really it, Rebecca. And I was like, all right, well, what is it with Joy of Business? And I was asking myself, what is it that you really create well here? What's your gig here? And what is it you can contribute? And what is it that you're really, letting things down? And I was like, every time I have to talk people to JCFs, I just die a little bit inside right now. And it's not because the JCFs aren't brilliant. So if you're a JCF and you're listening to this, I still adore you.
It's not your hashtag, it's not your fault.
Hashtag, it's not your fault. I still freaking adore you guys. You're amazing. But I was just like, I don't know, whatever it was, and not even going to rationalize it for you. But I was dying a little inside, and I was like, but I was so frustrated because I have all these cool, and I want to create cool stuff. I want to be creating, we have an assessment that we're going to be creating for you guys about, what is the different area that's your strength and how can you use that? I want to, there's different things to do with apps. And, we actually have a 7-day challenge that's coming up really soon on 7 days to get your shit together and create, which is actually going to be in May.
Hey, where can people find that? Because this actually comes out next week.
Exactly. So they can find that at accessjoyofbusiness.com/7 days. That is with an S, 7 days. And you'll also be able to find it on the Joy of Business Facebook page as well. And you can see in the energy now, this is what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be creating the cool stuff, getting Joy of Business out there in the world. And, I'm booking where I'm going to stay in Paris for the Business Done Different class that Simone's doing there in July. And you can go to accessjoybusiness.com/Paris if you want to check out that. Terrible place, terrible time of year. And I was going, this is I want to create a Joy of Business apartment and all these different things. And some of them are the future and some of them are more now and some of them are in between. But this is what I actually want to spend my time waking up and creating.
So what we also create, so we spoke about this and spoke to everyone in the Dazzle, and we've got, Alan and Melanie, two people who we work with that are going to be the forefront of it and the action people and working with the JCFs and doing all of that. So we literally sort of got all the staff. We didn't eliminate anyone. We got all the staff and we threw them all up in the air and went, okay, if they all fell down in the positions and the places that they would have more fun, let's do that. And that's what we're doing and that's what we're creating. And can I tell you the relief in not just every person, in their bodies. That's the thing I noticed too. The relief in people's bodies when we were willing to be so irrational that they were like, oh, yeah, okay. Because how much stress do you create on your body when you're trying to be rational every day with business rather than being irrational? So everywhere that you're creating that stress on your body, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, I've got a couple of processes here I want to give you as well. So they're questions that you can, it's basically, the process is this question, and then you run the clearing statement at the end, which don't forget, theclearingstatement.com, you can check out. So what if you asked, how irrational could your receiving, big R word, the receiving, how irrational could your receiving be to make you so successful you could never fail for all eternity? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I grew up personally with my own personal, saying of imagine what I could do if I knew I couldn't fail. And that's pretty much what this is talking about. I mean, Joy Business now has this like fresh injection of the creative energies that I know it can be, and I know it can get access consciousness tools out there to the world. So super excited about that. So how irrational could your receiving be to make you so successful you could never fail for all eternity? And everything that that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And this is one of my favorite ones at the moment. What irrational receiving are you so capable of that would make you so successful nobody would ever stop you? And everything that that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. One more time. What irrational receiving are you so capable of that would make you so successful nobody would ever stop you? And everything that that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And the third process that I'm going to give you with this little bunch of threes is one that's also for your body. So what energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to be the irrational miracles you truly be for all eternity? And everything that that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So what you're asking to be is that place of being in question and being willing to follow the energy. Like, I mean, I just got home and I've been doing this, 9-day detox. It's pretty fun to do. But 2 days ago, I said to Brendan, my partner, I went, I can, perceive my body craving sugar. And he said, so why don't you have sugar? And I was quite delusional because I did need sugar. and I went, no, I'll just keep doing the detox. And he went, okay, I'm just going to say it once. And he said, but what if you're actually willing to follow the energy of your body? And I went, good point. So I had a coffee with milk and sugar in it, and it was yum. So you've got to be willing to follow the energy, because your body will actually give you more information, and we override it so often and we ignore it. And your body contributes to your business. Your body contributes to your money flows. So I'll run that one more time. What energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to be the irrational miracles you truly be for all eternity? And everything that that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So if you want to get these processes, don't forget, click on, there's a link or something like that you go to, or go to Simone Milasas, milasas.com/podcast, and you'll see all the other podcasts that we have there, and the ones that you want to sign up and get a summary of. We give you a summary, you'll get the processes, sign up and you can get that. Okay.
And we're barely touched on the surface of this whole irrational topic as well. Like I feel like we've done 1 centimeter out of an entire planet's worth. And it actually makes me really excited, because you actually have a couple of Zoom online trainings that we have coming up at the end of April. One on no expectations of your business, and the other one on is being irrational, a gift in your business. So if this conversation has been interesting for you, I'm definitely going to be on it asking more questions. So is the whole Joy Business team, and you're welcome to too. So that's actually on the 26th and the 27th of April and you can get that on accessjoyofbusiness.com/April Zoom.
And that's 26 and 27 Aussie time. So that's 25, 26 for Europe, because I'm in the future, so I know everything, So are you, Rebecca. You're in New Zealand. You're actually ahead of me.
Be ahead of the game.
Exactly. So accessjoyofbusiness.com/April Zooms with an S?
No, without an S.
Without an S. That one doesn't have an S. Okay, no S on that one.
Yep.
So, and also in 2 days' time, Gary Douglas have out there listening, because I know I have a lot of listeners who are involved in Access, and you've done a bars class. Gary will be doing, as this goes live, a telecall in 2 days' time called Never Give Up, Never Quit, and he has some amazing information about this, because, I mean, every time you go to the rightness of something that you've done, you've just quit. Every time you go to the wrongness of it, you've just quit. I know, weird, isn't it? But that's like functioning from the, irrational point of view, is looking at that when you go, yes, I just did this, I just got this amount, or I just made this project, or, I won this, or whatever that is, you just quit. Because irrational is the willingness to ask a question and ask for more. So how many of you have decided that you're not allowed to ask for more? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I mean, being irrational is the willingness to be you, the willingness to receive everything, the willingness to know everything. I mean, this is not about education. This is about intellectual awareness, the willingness to know everything. You know when someone's about to call. You know when something's about to, go, it feels a bit funky. You know that energy. And it's also being irrational is the willingness to perceive everything with no judgment and no point of view. What if perception was like the wind? It's like you perceive something and you don't hold on to it. You don't make it like into a fixed point of view. The wind changes and your perception changes of what something can occur. I mean, look at nature. Nature changes all the time. And us stupid, beings on this planet keep trying to make things fixed. Life is not fixed. The art and industry of living is not fixed. Your living is not fixed, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to tell you that. And everywhere you're trying to fix how your life looks like or make it into this conclusion or this, regiment or this agenda of what it's got to look like, that's where you're being rational. And what we're inviting you to is an irrational life and living. So, Rebecca, anything else you want to add here before we sign off?
Come check out the new Joy of Business, whether it's talking to someone in the team, whether it's going to one of our new Access Business and Money or Business Done Different masterclasses. Jump on one of the Irrational Zooms. Everything is new from this point forward. I can just say, just jump in and find a new tool.
And if you can go get the book on Amazon if you've never heard anything about it, Joy of Business. And the website, again, is accessjoyofbusiness.com. And don't forget to check out accessconsciousness.com. And also check out our good friend Megan. She's got a podcast as well, which is absolutely brilliant. It's called the What Else Is Possible Show.com. So thank you, Rebecca, so much for joining me here today. I absolutely adore you. And I'm extremely grateful for your willingness to change. I'm grateful for your willingness to be vulnerable with the changes and know that what we are creating is moving to something greater and we have no idea what this is going to look like. And that's where the adventure comes in.
And thank you for inviting me to it, truly. There's no one I know that changes as fast as you do. And that's just so inspiring. And every single time I'm like, what? We're changing again? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're changing again. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
It's always very exciting and inspiring.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And I look forward to seeing you listeners out there somewhere in the world. Be happy and keep choosing and changing. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.